It is now my pleasure to introduce CBA President Amy Lynn Myerson.
This morning's first plenary speaker is Lieutenant Governor Susan Bysiewicz. Lieutenant Governor Bysiewicz is serving her first term as Connecticut's 109th Lieutenant Governor. She served as Secretary of the State from 1999 to 2011 and as a state representative for the towns of Middletown, Middlefield, and Durham. Before becoming an elected official, Lieutenant Governor Bysiewicz practiced law as an in-house counsel and with private law firms, and wrote a book entitled Ella, a Biography of Ella Grasso, Connecticut's 83rd Governor. Welcome, Lieutenant Governor Bysiewicz.
Hello, Connecticut lawyers. I take great pleasure in appearing before my professional colleagues today. Thank you, Connecticut Bar Association, not only for hosting the annual Connecticut Legal Conferences, but also for all of the work you do each and every day on behalf of our profession in our state. Governor Lamont and I truly appreciate your impact on the legal profession and our beautiful state. Well, normally I would be standing before roughly 1,200 of you at the convention center. It is, after all, 2020, and nothing about this year has been normal. The novel coronavirus, COVID-19, has swept across the globe and our country. In Connecticut, we've been under states of civil preparedness and public health emergency since this past March. Originally declared in March and scheduled to expire on September 9th, the states of emergency have been extended to remain in place in order for our state to effectively respond to the unprecedented and ongoing global pandemic. Indeed, our state was hit early and hard by the virus. We've come a long way from where we were when COVID-19 first hit back in March, and working with our public health officials, other stakeholders, and residents, we've built an infrastructure that has taken our state to one of the lowest infection rates in the country. This is something that the governor and I are very proud of. But Connecticut isn't out of the woods yet, and we remain in a daily fight to contain COVID-19. Over the next several months, our administration will continue working with our partners in the legislature, in our municipalities, with our nonprofits, with our long-term care facilities, and with our hospitals to collaboratively combat this virus. I want to thank the members of the Connecticut Bar Association and Connecticut's lawyers for reaching out to our administration on behalf of your clients and with suggestions concerning the nearly 70 executive orders that we have issued since the start of the emergencies. We look forward to your continued suggestions and feedback as we continue the work of fighting against this virus and eventually, hopefully in the months ahead, transition from relief to recovery. Now, normally this conference occurs just after the conclusion of our state's legislative session, and I'd be highlighting some of the progress we've made in the past session. However, for obvious reasons, our work was interrupted. So instead, I'd like to take some time to speak about a major milestone in American history that we celebrated last month, the 100th anniversary of the ratification of the 19th Amendment to our United States Constitution, which granted women the right to vote. We know that the road toward progress is not perfect, and it is not always straight, as it would take another half century to guarantee women of color legal protections for the right to vote. But it was a remarkable moment in the history of women's rights in America. Achieving this milestone required a lengthy and difficult struggle. Victory took decades of agitation and protest. Beginning in the mid-19th century, several generations of women's suffrage supporters lectured, wrote, marched, lobbied, and practiced civil disobedience to achieve what many Americans considered a radical change of the Constitution. Alice Paul, a leader in the women's suffrage movement, actually called Ridgefield, Connecticut home during some of the last years of her life. But it was Alice Paul who said, "I never doubted that equal rights was the right direction. Most reforms, most problems are complicated, but to me, there is nothing complicated about ordinary equality." And although we as women might have gained the right to vote 100 years ago, we still continue to battle every day for that ordinary equality. I'm sure many of you know only 127 women currently hold seats in the entire United States Congress. That is 23.7% of the 535 members. 26 women serve in our United States Senate, and 101 women serve in the US House of Representatives. 90 women hold statewide elective executive offices across the country. We hold 28.9% of the 311 available positions. Only 9 governors, 15 lieutenant governors, and 8 attorneys general are women. And while women make up nearly half of the workforce in the United States, there are currently only 37 women CEOs of Fortune 500 companies. Today, as we remember those who fought for a women's right to vote, we must be vigilant and continue their fight for equal rights. I can assure you that Governor Lamont and I are continuing to fight for the advancement of opportunities and equity for women and for all people in our state. It is amazing to think that only 100 years ago, women did not even have the right to vote. Now, more than 68 million women will vote in our nation's elections on November 3rd. And we need to make sure that even more vote in this year's election. Our country depends on it. Thank you again, Connecticut Bar Association. I trust that even in these difficult circumstances, your conference will continue to be a success, and I look forward to seeing you all in person next year, but also to partnering with you for the benefit of our profession and our beautiful state. Thank you so much for having me.
Our final conference plenary speaker is Probate Court Administrator Beverly K. Streit-Kefalas. Judge Streit-Kefalas made history when she was appointed in September 2019 as the first woman to serve as Probate Court Administrator. She has served as a judge in the Milford Orange Probate Court since 1999, as administrative judge for the New Haven Regional Children's Probate Court, and as a past president of the Connecticut Probate Assembly. Welcome, Judge Streit-Kefalas.
Good morning, Connecticut Bar members, guests, and fellow speakers. Thank you for the opportunity to welcome you this morning to the concluding sessions of the 2020 Connecticut Bar Association Legal Conference. I am honored to virtually appear before all of you this morning, together with the esteemed speakers from whom you've already heard. I share their commitment and dedication to the highest legal standards, ethics, and jurisprudence, with its pinnacle ensuring access to justice for all our citizens. In my inaugural year as the Probate Court Administrator, I've had the privilege and the good fortune to collaborate with and support the judges and the staff of the probate court system, and to work with many of you to ensure that all the challenges we have faced in 2020 have strengthened and not defeated us. This virtual conference is evidence that the legal system is adaptable and committed to continuing our education and growth in whatever format is needed. None of us before March of this year, I expect, could have imagined conducting this conference in virtual, physically distant platforms, and yet here we are. And 2020 has not just been a year of health and safety protocols to flatten and hopefully eliminate the spread of COVID-19. It has also been a year of protests and tragedies that I am optimistic, especially with the Connecticut Bar and Connecticut jurists, has resulted in an elevated awareness and continued dialogue to ensure that justice is protected and attained. The probate court system opened this year with a significant improvement to modernize our system in our launch of our e-filing system on January 1st. We are appreciative of the many attorneys who worked with us and volunteered in the pilot development phase, and the hundreds of you who have since January registered and utilized this new approach to probate court proceedings. The timing of electronic access to our courts could not have been more fortuitous, for within just a few short months, we were in the midst of a public health crisis, an emergency that caused the shutdown of schools, businesses, And for the probate court system, access to many public buildings in which the probate court system are housed. In the probate courts, we adjusted quickly by installing camera-enabled monitors in each court and establishing the use of secure video conferencing capabilities so that probate hearings and the probate needs of the public would continue to be met despite stay safe, stay home orders and social distancing requirements. As many of you are aware, the probate court system handles thousands of conservatorships for vulnerable individuals with cognitive and executive functioning impairments, family members seeking to protect their minor members by petitioning for guardianship and temporary custody. Individuals endangering themselves or others are committed to psychiatric hospitals under high legal and constitutional standards to ensure their well-being, but also their rights to make decisions for themselves. The probate courts have jurisdiction to adjudicate appeals from quarantine and isolation orders, and we quickly refresh trainings for staff and judges on the protocols and legal standards should such appeals happen in this COVID-19 world. And we recognize that although estate matters were not life-threatening situations, the need for access to financial resources under the economic strains of this pandemic were also critical. Every day, probate court staff and judges respond to the needs of our most vulnerable citizens and family members, often at their most critical and stressful times of their lives. I'd like to take this opportunity to share with you just a few of the stories of the probate court system and what we have addressed during this public health emergency, to give you just a small sense of the commitment, the compassion, and the dedication of each probate court staff member and probate judge. They have ensured that regardless of the circumstances, the public has had continued access to the probate courts. These are their words. Some of the more difficult matters have been the petitions for conservators seeking authority or direction concerning the removal or withholding of life support measures. My heart goes out to them because most of the time I'm just giving them the authority to make the decision. I'm not making it myself. The other matters that give us pause are petitions for custody of the remains of those lost souls who have no readily identifiable family members. Even then, my staff goes to great lengths to ensure all means of searching for family members. I can only imagine how difficult this time must be for them. The work being done at the probate court is a vital lifeline for the public. During this period of isolation, many people have called the court for our guidance. They are feeling lost and alone. They have lost a loved one, sometimes due to COVID-19. They call with questions regarding the probate process. But they have also called because they are reaching out for human contact. Many are afraid to leave their homes. Calling the court with questions on the probate process gives them a sense of purpose and normalcy. It's something that gives them a reason to keep moving forward, knowing that life goes on, even in such a stressful time. Although the town shut down our building, we continued helping families. Early on, we even held hearings outdoors. A young woman who had just turned 18 and wanted her name changed to reflect her gender identification had been awaiting her 18th birthday to continue her journey. So we had the hearing outside the building. And there are countless other stories of the critical need for emergency hearings for end-of-life decisions, emergency psychiatric commitments, especially in the mental health crisis that we are now encountering due to the pandemic, loss of family members due to COVID-19, stories of judges themselves brought to tears at the conclusion of hearings behind closed doors. But the theme throughout all of these messages, and the message I wish to share with all of you today, is the commitment of the probate court system to the highest of standards to ensure access to our courts to all members of our society. It is trite at this point in time to say this public health crisis has been challenging. We are all feeling a bit 2020, a bit of COVID-19 fatigue. but I am proud to say that the 60 probate courts, all of the probate judges and the entire probate court staff in the state of Connecticut continue to rise to the occasion, continue to seek improvement, and continue to strive to give the best of legal services to the state of Connecticut. Again, I thank you for the opportunity to speak to each of you this morning. I wish each of you good health and safety, and I look forward next year to meeting each of you in person. Have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge Streit-Kefalas.
I'd like to thank our opening plenary sponsors, Crownholm Insurance Services and Liberty Bank. Crownholm is a CBA-endorsed provider of professional liability, auto, homeowner, umbrella insurance, probate bonds, committee liability, office packages, and workers' compensation, disability income plan, and employment practices liability products. Do not miss the CLC session, Safe Harbors and Calm Seas, on Tuesday and Wednesday at 2 p.m. to earn up to 7.5% premium credit off 2 years on professional liability insurance offered through this CBA exclusively endorsed program underwritten by CNA. Established in 1825, Liberty Bank is Connecticut's oldest and largest mutual bank, with over $6 billion in assets and 60 banking offices in Connecticut. As a full-service financial institution, Liberty offers consumer and commercial banking, cash management, home mortgages, insurance, and investment services. Named Top Workplace by the Hartford Courant, Liberty maintains a long-standing commitment to superior personal service and unparalleled community involvement.